We are on chapter 71, and it has been a long time coming. But here we go. It's also freezing in Melbourne. That's why I have my robe on. All right. Back in 2020, I met this guy on this app called Tagged. There's an app called Tagged. We will call him Plankton. Plankton and I messaged and met up like 30 minutes later. Woo-yeah! 30 minutes! Plankton drove to me to pick me up and we parked on a busy side street. We talked, then started touchy-touchy to kissy-kissy to doing the bad things in his small car. P.S. I'm a thick poly girl and he's an Indian who drives a Honda Fit. Anyway, we did the bad things, and after he finished eating the punani, he wanted to talk about his visa. Girl, not the punani for the visa. I said sure. This matangeli wanted me to marry him for his visa in return of $10,000. Stop. I didn't know what to say, but I said, deal. I'll marry you to help you with your visa. Girl! 3 months later, I moved in with him. Oh, forgot to mention, I was living with my cousin at the time. Once I arrived at his place, he introduced me to his flatmate who was Russian. Is this like at our boarding school or? The very next morning, I thought everyone had gone to work, so I'm walking around the house with my shirt and panty on till I seen the Russian walk in on me in the kitchen while I'm holding my cup of coffee. I have a feeling I know where this is going. So, me and Russian did the bad things in the lounge, the kitchen, everywhere in the house, you name it. Even in me and Plankton's bed. Ew. This thing between me and the Russian was going on for a month, but came to a stop 2 weeks before our wedding. Anywho, come to the wedding day, Plankton and I got married in his living room. For $10,000, you couldn't at least do a garden wedding? After the wedding, Plankton went to drink with his friends and I stayed home. Russian went drinking with Plankton too. So I was home alone while Plankton was out drinking. I went back on Tagged, the app, and started sleeping with every Tom, Dick and Harry for money. Oh, so you're a hoe. Until I came across this guy's name, which was real on Tagged, but his actual name is Miracle, who is doing boxing now. Sorry to his baby mama, but I need to expose this guy because I need him to pay child support. Oh my God. Anywho, later on that night, I came home to Plankton asking me where I was. And I said I went to drop my sister-in-law to Club Royal. But really, Plankton did not pay me the $10K till this day. Since he didn't pay, I took off with his car and sold some of his belongings. 3 years later, I'm in a happy, stable relationship with another guy, moved countries, and my own family don't know that I was married to an Indian. Also, Plankton thinks I'm deceased. Not deceased. Girl, you win. Okay, next one. So my dad's only sister, we'll call her Vai, she ended up passing away 2022. I'm going to rename the names in the story and states, knowing that most of South Auckland came to the funeral and know my family. Vai and her husband, we'll call him Usi because he's the definition of every swear word under the sun. Anyways, many months before Vai passed, she kicked Usi out, which is her husband, for being the lazy Usi that he is, with no job, and he didn't want to support his family. So they kicked him out and said it's best for them to go on a break because Usi didn't want to work, didn't want to take the kids to their trainings and games, and wasn't paying for shit. After they kicked Usi out, he went to Australia and told everyone he's going there for work. But turns out he was staying with a whole ass woman. When they found out, she never told the kids till later on and refused to speak to Usi whenever Usi would call his kids' phone. Fast forward to the day he got the phone call saying Vai had passed away. He took the first flight out of Australia and came straight to New Zealand for Vai's funeral. Fast forward to the night of her first funeral service for family only. We were all there. Straight after the service, we left the funeral home and went back to Vai's house, where all of us girls, Vai's daughters and the daughters of her brothers, mind you, all of us girls were all over the age of 16 and under the age of 20. So me and the girls would all sleep in Vai's room during the week of her funeral. When Ussi got back from Australia, he came and kicked us girls out of Vai's room because he was going to stay in that room. And let me remind you, he went missing and only turns up now and acts like it's his house and everything. Me and the girls moved into the other room down the hall. Next day, my aunties, Vai's girl first cousins, came over to Vai's house and they were making us kids breakfast. Us girls sat at the table, and while we were eating, one of my aunties came and sat with us. We will call that auntie Ho. Ho came and sat down with us, and Ussi came and sat down with us at the table too while we were eating. All the other aunties were outside smoking. The whole time when Ho and Ussi were sitting at the table with us, they didn't speak a word but were on their phones constantly the whole time, and they kept making eye contact to each other. Being the only one that realized it, I just left it because I didn't think much of it. 2 days go past and we get back from Vai's burial. Oh my gosh, I'm stuttering. We went straight to Vai's house and all of us girls was with the aunties again inside while the boys and uncles were in the garage with Ussi and they were all drinking. Ho, which is Vai's first cousin, shouted everyone alcohol and she asked us younger girls if we wanted some. So we all drank inside while the boys remained outside in the garage drinking. Me and the girls were still drinking and all of a sudden, one of my aunties came up to us asking if we've seen Ussi because they went to the garage and asked my dad and the boys and if they've seen him, and they all said he was going to the bathroom. But it's been over an hour and Ussi is still missing. Me and the girls searched the whole house and my nosy ass took me to Vai's room because no one has checked there yet. Oh my lord. I tried opening the door and it was locked. There's loud ass music coming from the garage so I couldn't hear anything. I start knocking and put my ear to the door and tell me why I start hearing the bed shaking and I started hearing the voice of Ho. That's when I pulled out my phone and I started recording the whole thing. I was knocking on the door even harder and I started swearing loud as, telling Ussi to open the door, and they finally realized that they just got caught and that it was my voice they heard. It took them 3 minutes to open the door. Ussi opens the door and tell me why I see Ho sitting on the bed and I see lipstick smudged all over his face and neck. His shirt was unbuttoned and Ho was pretending to break down because she knew I just caught them doing the bad things on Vai's burial night. I started swearing, and knowing that Ussi is my uncle and Ho is my auntie, my mouth didn't hold back one bit as I started crying because being my 16-year-old self, walking in on that shit on my auntie's burial night and finding her husband with her first cousin in bed. You know damn well I wasn't going to let that shit slide. I told her to get out of my auntie's room and to pack her shit and leave, and I said the same thing for Ussi. Ussi told me to shut up, but they both begged me not to say a thing, knowing that this would tear the family apart. They saw that my phone was still recording, and Ussi opened up his wallet and gave me $5,000 in cash that he got from the families during the funeral. And Ho is still sitting on my auntie's bed saying, "Please, niece, don't tell anyone." He gave you hush money. I would have taken it and still told everyone. I was like, okay, I won't tell and it'll be our little secret. And Ussi had the audacity to say, "See, that's why you're my favorite niece." I roll my eyes and walk away while Ussi laughs it off. I ran into the garage crying and I called my dad and uncles to come out. And knowing these guys were already drunk, I told them everything and I showed them the video. Like I said, I wasn't going to let that shit slide, being my auntie's girl that I am. They waited in the garage until Ussi came out from going to the toilet. Ussi walks out to the garage without wiping the lipstick smudges off his face. My dad and his brothers bet Ussi and he got the worst hiding of his life, to the point where he was laying on the ground unconscious. Oh my gosh, I need to do a part 2. I'm running out of time!